We just kick it off.
Yes. And I don't still have a cold because this is a different day. Man, that cold last time got me down, but
You have some new distraction to talk about?
oh, about time wasting?
Yeah.
I mean, I
You
can
could tell
always
us
talk
about your
about.
trip, what you liked about your trip.
Yeah, we went on vacation. We went to
Can
St.
we tell it in,
Augustine.
can we do it in order to make my life easier?
Oh,
Can we do the intro and then do time wasting? Is that okay?
is that the order we go in? Yeah,
We're
okay.
supposed to, yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I've only done this 5 times.
Hello and welcome to the I Love You But podcast. I'm Heather and this is my sister.
Ryan, each week we will revisit relics of our childhoods using our multiple master's degrees
To critically evaluate the crap that consumed our misspent youth. So join us.
Sisters, latchkey kids, cuspers, and lazy feminists as we look back at our past to say, I love you, but.
Hey, you didn't waste time this week. You went on vacation. What happened?
I mean,
Tell us.
one could argue that I wasted a lot of time this week because I went on vacation.
I
If you're
thought in
like a
our last
pure
episode,
capitalist.
we decided that was called self-care.
Oh, did we just? That is decided. That is self care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went on vacation. Ben and Elliot and I took our little family vacay for spring break to St. Augustine, which was lovely, and I would love to go back there again. I even loved like our Airbnb was awesome. I'm super close to the beach. The beach was like very not crowded. It was really nice. Uh, yeah, we went and played mini golf. Ben took Elliot to the alligator farm while I stayed at the condo and had some alone time for the first time in like 2 weeks, which was lovely.
Sounds good.
I graded papers and drank margaritas.
Excellent.
Not at the same time because I would never drink alcohol while grading papers.
You just have to randomly shuffle them so that you don't like get nicer at the end of the alphabet.
Well, they are very random, and I put like a cover page and then I like lifted it so I couldn't see their name. But I do have to like take breaks because otherwise I will just like stop reading and be like,
we're all
like
gonna die. The future is over.
I know, like the same 3 questions over and over and over again. It's like I'm not even reading this anymore, you know. So I try to like get around my bias by doing that. So I think I got like 5 of them graded. I think I have like 25 more and a bunch of other stuff because I took my laptop to the beach, but I did not take my laptop charger. So I took a laptop all the way to Florida and back and never opened it or used it once. So yeah, good job me. But it was great. We had a great time. We ate a lot of really good restaurants. We figured out that the best time to go eat is at 5 o'clock because then everything else gets crowded at 6.
Makes sense.
So our old person lifestyle is working well for us. We slept late. We had a good time. Went to the pool. Elliot discovered that he really liked being buried in sand. And he sat there buried in sand for like a good 10 minutes before he freed himself. I was like, this is interesting.
I
Maybe
wonder
we
if
need
it
to get
made
him
him feel safe or something.
I know. I'm like, do we need to get him a weighted blanket? Because that one time we tried to do that, it didn't go well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. So how did you waste time this new week, Heather?
Well, I actually got back to my manuscript and reread it. Well, if I don't sell it, it might be wasting time, but let's hope for the best. I had rewritten the beginning last year, and then I rewrote the ending a couple months ago. So I just now have to deal with the messy middle part. But I figured before I tried to attack that, I should read through the whole thing as it exists to make sure that, I don't end up writing something that completely contradicts something new. And today I used Twitter to find a couple of literary agents who have manuscript wish lists that match what I'm trying to put out there.
That's awesome.
And now I'm thinking about whether or not I want to go to the DFW Writers Conference in May. I went once several years ago.
I remember that.
On
You
accident.
got very positive feedback.
I did. I got very positive feedback. But
which for us can be very bad, because then we stop doing what we are doing, because then we are like, success, no, run away.
Well, really, so now I'm kind of torn. So what happened with that was I had self-published my second romantic contemporary comedy, and I ended up meeting with an agent who did not he wasn't really looking for romantic comedies, but it was because a wonderful colleague of mine had bought the ticket and then couldn't go, and it comes with a pitch, and she had picked that agent, and so I just had to go meet whatever agent, and I found out about this the day before it all happened, so I was not necessarily well prepared. But
you pitched them.
Yeah, I pitched my post-utopian YA, and I did work on that quite a bit. And then the pandemic happened, and I couldn't write anything. I definitely could not write that. And then lately when I've been hearing things about like states that don't want to let girls learn about periods in school, I'm kind of feeling like maybe I need to rush through the romantic comedy and get back to that.
One. Yeah.
Post-utopian.
I really like the non-hypocritical legislation of wanting to ban drag shows, because they're worried about those people being perverts and exposing children to them. But then they also, and by they I mean the GOP, are also passing legislation saying that kids have to have their genitals inspected to play sports.
Yeah.
It's like, anyways, this is not a political podcast.
Except the only reason political isn't personal is when all of politics works in your favor. So
yes,
everything is political, and we talk. Therefore, get over it.
And it is personal.
Yes.
So yeah.
And the cognitive dissonance, I mean, I thought we hit the height with the pandemic, but oh Lord, it has just gotten so much worse. It's a little insane.
I'm proud of you, Heather. That's awesome. I'm really glad, and I'm gonna encourage you now that you've told me you're doing that.
I've been trying to do the Duolingo, but I fell out of it for a little bit, but I got to get back on it.
Man, fuck that Al. Fuck you.
He's just trying to help you increase.
I know, and again, it doesn't work for me, right? Like I told you, like a few months ago, I was doing keto, and I hadn't told anyone. I wasn't talking about it. I was just doing my thing, and then someone at work was like, "You lost weight?" And I'm like, blah, 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 and then I stopped.
Yeah.
Which I don't even care about the weight. Like, it's frustrating because like I actually was feeling good. I wasn't hurting, and I had good energy, and I wasn't having cravings, and then like getting back on it. So it's definitely their fucking fault. So the bottom line is, don't talk to people about their bodies. Don't comment on people's bodies. Ever. Just do not do it. Right. So for my students who are listening, you like Miss Davis Ryan life advice? Miss Davis Ryan, Jesus Christ. Miss Davis life advice. Here you go. Biggest piece. Do not ever verbally comment on another person's body. Ever. Positive, negative, whatever. Unless they ask you. If someone says, "How do I look?" Or someone says, "Oh, I've lost weight." Then you are allowed to comment. It's like consent. You can't touch anybody's body without their permission. You cannot comment on someone's body without their permission. Bodies are off limits.
You're
physically,
so
verbally.
So shouty.
I got a little passionate.
A more generic version of that is never make a negative comment on someone that they can't fix within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So for instance, if somebody has spaghetti sauce on their face, let them know they've got spaghetti sauce on their face. So
yeah. If
somebody has weird teeth, They can't fix that in 5 minutes. Just don't say anything.
What's going on here? What are you gonna do about that? You should do what's going on here? You should do something about that. No, don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that. They know. Nobody's wandering around going, I have perfect teeth, when they do not. Or if they are, you know what? They're like those terrible singers that audition for those shows and they think they're great, and maybe they think their teeth
Let
are
them
great.
think they're
You're
great.
gonna come along and say something about their teeth,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be self-conscious.
Yeah.
Like
people like, I can't dance. I'm like, yes, you can. Everyone can dance. Everyone can sing. You may not do it well.
That's right.
But if you enjoy it,
who cares?
Who cares?
That's right.
But yes, and don't not date someone because of something they can't fix either. All right, done. It's because I haven't been around my students in like 9 days. Like I haven't had the little children. Okay. So our friend Patricia, whatever. Patricia posted some meme that was like, being called an elder millennial makes me want to like wear a hooded cloak and be like, come children, come sit at my legs and let me tell you about Modest Mouse, or something like that. And I was like, oh my god. So I like messaged her and was like, oh my god, that's so funny. My kid's actually like literally, blah blah blah, Miss Davis life at Bison. She was like, you should. And then I think that's when she said you should wear a cloak with a hood and start every class with like dim lighting and playing some song. And I was like, well, the dim lighting I got down. Like, I'm doing that. But yeah, it's like being called an elder millennial. Like, come, children, learn from my wisdom. The Killers' first album came out not 5 years ago, in fact.
But I mean, Gen Z, it's like everything came out whenever, because it's all like YouTube and everything's the same. It doesn't matter when it came out, right? Like they have access to all of it, which is great, I think it's great. But that's okay.
No, I don't know, because when like we had a talent show and like all the music kids were performing or whatever, dances you're singing to, whatever, all 90s, right? Like these bands, like they played cover, and I was like, when my friends, not me, were in bands in high school, maybe they played covers, but I also feel like they also wrote and performed original music. I don't know, like they weren't like covering the Eagles or something, like.
Ugh.
But anyways. Thankfully. Hey, what did we watch this week, Heather Davis?
Hey, this week, one of us watched Back to the Beach.
We're not going to pretend like I watched it.
And the other one of us has seen it so many times, she didn't have to watch it. She's just gonna...
I'm winging it.
She's gonna wing
I'm winging it.
She's gonna free conversation this.
That's what the epitaph on my headstone.
I have like 4 pages of notes about Back to the Beach.
Well, it's a whole movie.
From 1987. I don't know that I would call it a whole movie, but that's all right.
It was a feature-length film, wasn't it?
I'm not going to ask you what you remember, because we're about to find out. I'll tell you what I remember. I remember hating it a lot, and I remember Pee-Wee Herman. And that's
Pee-Wee Herman was in it?
This is going to go great. Back to the Beach was released in 1987.
Did he play himself?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not himself, but Pee-Wee Herman, he wasn't like as someone else?
No, he sang the
like
bird.
When he was in Buffy?
No, he sang the bird.
No,
and
he didn't.
Danced on a surfboard.
That was Fishbone.
No, Fishbone played some ska song. Fishbone are in it too. Pee-wee's at the end.
Oh, they played Bird is the Word.
No. They played
No, they
song.
played Sky. Sky. Okay. I'm sorry.
This is awesome.
I do not remember Pee-Wee Herman.
All right. So if you don't know, back in the 50s and 60s and whatever, Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello were child stars. They were on, I think they were both Mickey Mouse Club. If not, Annette definitely was.
Yes.
They also did beach movies together, a la Elvis.
Yeah.
And so they kind of have married each other, which did not happen in real life. It happened in the movie.
Nope.
Well, what's interesting if you look at the cast, Frankie Avalon is actually named as Annette's husband, because he didn't own the name Frankie. Like, Frankie tied to surfing movies was owned by a studio or somebody, and so they couldn't call him Frankie. They always call him the Big Kahuna the whole movie, which I never picked up on, but thank you, IMDb,
Wow, yeah.
yeah. So the premise is he is a used car salesman, and he works all the time, and he's real uptight and wears polyester suits, and she
Yes.
is a housewife, and she compulsively shops.
All
And
of her shoes and outfits and headbands match.
correct.
Every outfit.
She
All
is
printed
a cartoon
shoes.
character.
Yes, basically,
Yes.
like if Minnie Mouse came to life, it would Annette Funicello is what she would look like.
I literally wrote,
Like, well, not
Annette,
life, like human.
Annette is like Minnie Mouse as a person. I wrote
Yes.
that down. Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a teenage son who is rebelling against their straight-laced, upper middle class
White
suburban
bullshit.
existence.
Yeah.
And he's a real piece of work. He has a name. Hold on, let me grab that from IMDb. His name is Bobby.
Johnny. Bobby.
Bobby. Yep. Real jerk. And then they have a daughter who lives in Southern California, Sandy, played by Lori
Loughlin.
That's right.
Yeah. Aunt Becky.
Nobody in this movie had body fat, just so you know.
No.
It's like it didn't exist in 1997.
Yes.
So they are gonna rekindle the marriage, rekindle the spark by taking their obnoxious teenager to Hawaii. But on the way, they're gonna stop and see the daughter and see what's going on with her. But she has a live-in boyfriend, and they can't know about that because Frankie the Big Kahuna will murder him, apparently.
Very traditional, yes.
And so they end up not going to Hawaii and instead go back to the beach, and hijinks ensue.
Yeah, the beach that they like grew up on, apparently.
Yeah,
so this is like the beach they grew up
idol.
on and met. Yeah. Yes.
Fell in love. Yeah.
Yes.
At the very beginning, my question about the kid Bobby was, is he going to or coming from a leather bar? Because he was head to toe leather and spikes, and it was a whole thing.
Yes.
I would like to say that I very much enjoyed the Big Kahuna playing the car dealer because it reminded me of my massage therapist, who is also a drag king, and I have seen them perform once, and they are influenced by David Bowie and George Michael, and the show that I saw, they play a sleazy used car salesman using an MIA song. And there's a whole lot of like hair gel and slicking back the hair and smooth moves and polyester suit, and I just was sitting there thinking about how amazing my massage therapist was, and pretty much just ignoring Frankie Avalon.
It probably just made me think of my boss.
Probably. Their house in the suburbs is straight up mid-century modern. I had big heart goggles for it the whole time. And then Bobby shows back up in the house, being all mad, and now he's dressed like SLC Punk. He changed out of the leather bar, and he's now in SLC Punk. He's having like identity crises all over the place. They get on the plane, and basically the Big Kahuna just starts beating his child, and this happens throughout the movie. He is threatening to beat his child, he is beating his child, he is chasing his child. It really was a lot.
13, right? Like,
yeah,
or 15 maybe, something.
I mean, it kind of felt like even for the 80s it was a lot. Like, it was like they brought back the 50s where you could beat your kid. It was like, yeah, he can get away with this, he's the Big Kahuna, he can totally beat his kid. So then they get to the beach, and the first thing I wrote was triplets, because apparently there were some triplets in bikinis, I'm sure. And then finally the opening sign comes on. It had at least 2 lyrics in it. I don't think it had any more than that, but it had at least 2. I was real surprised. to discover that 3 people wrote this movie. 3.
3 people wrote this movie. Wow. Now, did it get released in theaters? Was this a made-for-TV movie? Do
No,
we
no, it
know?
was released in theaters, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it did fairly well, you know, not great, but
Nostalgia. Nostalgia is a moneymaker, friend.
it really can. The list of cameos is pretty outrageous. We can go through that in a minute. The first, I believe, is O.J. Simpson. They run into
Ooh,
him in the airport. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. I really didn't understand why Annette, it was so much pink. And not only Annette, her daughter, the daughter, pink everywhere.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
pink. At some point somebody is described as being cruelly handsome, and I just felt like that was too good to be in this movie. I also
I feel that way about Harry Styles. I think Harry Styles is cruelly handsome. Like, it is not, like, it is
it's unfair that he's
painful.
unfairly
Yeah.
handsome. Yeah, that's not the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing.
cruel how handsome he is. So few people get to, although I guess I should be glad we all get to enjoy to look.
Oh yeah,
Anyways,
he's out there for everybody to look at.
yeah. Yeah.
And tossing out NDAs. I mean, you know, he's kissing people too. I really just wondered exactly how dumb is the Big Kahuna, because through this movie he can't seem to figure out what's actually going on. Like, they'll be like, this thing is happening, and he'll be like, what do you mean this? What's a thing? What's happening mean? How are we? What? I'm just a dumb
I
used
mean,
car salesman.
can we talk about how he gets the nickname, the Big Kahuna?
I mean, if we have to, they go over it over and over and over it in the movie, but sure.
I mean, are we really picking up? Okay, keep going.
I did enjoy how they made fun of the Big Kahuna story, because you knew it was going to come up at the end, and then it did, and then that worked because they go to a tiki bar, and the tiki bar is owned
Yes,
by an old friend slash rival,
ex-girlfriend
Connie, played
Connie. Yeah.
by Connie Stevens. And if you're a Grease 2 fan, you'll recognize her as Miss Mason from the famous Tab Hunter duets.
Oh.
So that was enjoyable. She was great.
Yes. Yeah.
Super flirty, but respectful of the marriage, so that's always good. Enjoy that.
I mean, I remember her being like, "Oh, the Big Kahuna, someone get me a net," and then like Annette's right there, and she's like, "Well, I didn't mean that, but."
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that kind of dialogue. It was a lot.
Like, those are words that are like imprinted on my brain and will never go away. But yeah.
Yeah. So essentially they arrive, and the boyfriend has to like jump out into the ocean, and she throws all his crap out into the ocean so that the family can inspect the house and be like, you know, the Big Kahuna's like, oh, what's this and who's this and why do you have a razor, and you know, blah blah
And
blah.
this isn't good enough for you. What are you doing with your
I'm
life?
gonna invade your entire life because I don't have a life of my own, kind of thing. And is this what normal parents are like? Is this?
I
Like,
don't know, but like, were they funding her life? Like, did she have a job?
yeah, she
Or was
worked at
she
the
in?
tiki bar.
Oh,
She had a
yeah.
beach job. I mean, that's a beach job, you know? Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend is making and giving away custom surfboards. That's his job. And he's also part of like a surfer gang that we'll talk about in a little bit too, because they
Yeah.
were interesting. So there's a whole slew of people. This is like the cast of thousands.
Well, when you have 3 writers.
Yeah. At the tiki bar, I kind of was wondering if this is Grease 2, and it wasn't just because, you know, Connie was there.
Yeah.
Later that night, oh, I missed something. So during the day, after the, you know, the Big Kahuna gets mad because he realizes there's this boyfriend there, and Annette's trying to hold it together. So she's like, let's go shopping or whatever. And like, all I could think about was The Simpsons. Let's bake cookies for the boys. Like, that's all I could think about. And then the Barbie trailer dropped this week, and it was all just up in my head.
Yeah.
So later that night, after the tiki bar, they're like, well, the only thing we can do now is have a pajama party. And so, like, all of her girlfriends come over and take up all the space in her tiny beach bungalow, and they all have like printed silk pajamas with like fluffy feathers and little matching feather heels and everything like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, which I 100% wanted when I was a kid.
And have you seen the Barbie trailer?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, girl, you gotta watch it. It has
Telling you.
the kitten heel opening is literally, it's astonishing. Everyone is
Like,
like,
my
yes.
ideal would be to dress like Annette Funicello in this movie. Like, when I was a kid, that is what I want. I wanted to be Annette Funicello in this movie.
Maybe
Just
that's
to
why I have
dress.
that's why I have a hard time with this movie. There is no character that I'm like, yep, I want to be like that one.
Why
Like,
do I want to
Pee-Wee
be like
Herman.
as a person? I mean, I want to dress like her. Like, I want
Okay.
to emulate her style in this movie. Which,
Pee-Wee
I mean,
Herman.
of course I love it. Like, if it's like, what are my other favorite movies, right? Like Grease 2. Like, it's all that same like 50s
pastiche, yeah.
bullshit that I love. Yeah, pastiche. Look at you. Oh my god.
I've
What's the difference
taken
between panache and pastiche? They're so similar. Can you spell those? Spell each of those for me.
Panache,
Panache.
pastiche.
Now spell funicello.
Funicelllo, maybe? Or is it two N's?
No, I think it's something real weird.
No, you don't know.
Like
Also,
Fanucleo or something.
two of those words are French. I don't think Funicello is French. Moving along. Here we are. We're at the slumber party where the pajama party where Ryan Davis wants to be, and all of a sudden, just so you know, there's a surfer gang, okay, who own the beach, and Bobby takes up with them. Like, he's like,
Yes.
screw you, mom and dad, I'm hanging out with these dudes.
I remember that. And he gets the tattoo on his chest.
He gets a tattoo. These boys end up invading the pajama party, at which point I wrote down, nobody invited the Lost Boys to the pajama party, because that is exactly what happened. The next morning, Frankie has found himself hanging out with the other beach gang, quote unquote, that is less like a gang and is just a pile of dudes who their whole life is surfing.
Surfing. Including the boyfriend, right?
Including the boyfriend. And so he is asleep in a pile of dudes, and the beach report comes on, and all of a sudden they're all in action going out to catch the waves and where's the best beach, and they've got this like radio going, and it's super like,
is this when he wakes up drunk, or is that later in the movie?
No, that's when he wakes up drunk. But the thing is,
or wakes up hungover, because he and Annette get in a fight, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so yeah.
So Annette does a pajama party, and he gets drunk with
he
Connie.
gets drunk, and then the boyfriend makes him the like hangover cure with the raw egg, and he's like, this is the recipe that Keith Moon uses.
Yes.
That's what these are the things I remember, these very specific details.
Okay.
Go on.
So I wrote
every single thing that happened in this movie.
The Lost Boys at the pajama party, these guys, the surfer guys, were like if Paw Patrol was just different versions of Zuma. They were all Zuma. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Today I learned, that day I learned I don't care to watch people surf. I could go the rest of my life without watching anyone surf. Don't care.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if it was a whites only beach. Later I found out it was not, but at one point it really seemed like it was. Frankie and Annette have had this big fight, and they basically spend the rest of the movie trying to make each other jealous.
Yes, I recall.
Until they reconcile. I really just wish that I was watching Clam Bake with Elvis instead. And this was even before I watched the Elvis movie. I just was like, oh. So then Annette does her ska thing, and I was like, is that Fishbone? And I looked, and it was Fishbone, so that was cool.
Sky.
Mm-hmm.
I know. See, but I love the way she handles the boy, the shitty kid. Because I feel
Yeah.
that's very much also my parenting style, where he like keeps trying to do this stuff to piss her off, and she's just like not having it, like not reacting.
Yeah.
Whereas like,
Yeah.
look at this, I don't want to rip off my tattoo. She's like, oh, it's so cute. Like the
Yeah.
fucking sunscreen on his nose. What's with the age where people just put sunscreen on their nose? Like you don't think any other part of your body needs sunscreen, but like
It's the
just on your
most prominent. It
nose.
was very 80s.
It was very 80s. Like, remember in the Salute Your Shorts, the camp counselor always just
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
sunscreen on his nose. I mean, he had a hat on too, so that helped. But like, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess there was still an ozone then.
We were fighting to keep it.
Were we?
Yeah. I don't. Somehow there was a whole thing about a trophy needing a trophy, and I
Yeah.
wrote they couldn't get a thrift store trophy, so they gave him a human trophy. I don't remember what happened, but I did think that was
They gave him a person. Well,
every
because there's
thrift
like
store has trophies.
there's like a surfing competition, right? And that's how he got the big
Yep.
kahuna. Because like in the
Yeah,
bar, they
that's
still have his
but this
surfboard and like the huge like
oh no, I guess that is the end. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
I was like, well, it's not the end. I'm like, oh no, I guess it is. I don't really have a whole lot left.
Yeah, there's not a
I
lot
would
that
say
happens in that movie.
Pee-Wee Herman is still the best part. The guy with the mohawk spikes reminds me of Hatchet Face, so that's worth a rewatch. Anybody who gets that reference. And then somewhere toward the end, there was the godless communism phrase, so you know you're in the 80s. And then I wrote, what a nostalgia crap fest.
Nostalgic crap fest.
Cameos. So they had Miss Mason from Grease 2.
Yes.
Dick Dale, who is the king of surf guitar. Stevie Ray Vaughan is also playing
Okay.
DUR. Fishbone, the dude from Get Smart. The brothers from Leave It to Beaver, they are the judges for the surfing contest. Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, he makes a bunch of movies. OJ, as we mentioned.
Oh,
And,
not Bob Denver, who wrote Rocky Mountain High. It's like that's an interesting one.
That's John Denver.
No.
So I have a sad fact. Zed, the leader of the Lost Boys, he died in 1994.
Oh.
It was only 7 years after this movie was made. He was young.
Well, Annette Funicello died pretty shortly after that too, didn't she?
She actually was struggling with MS.
Yeah, I was gonna say she had something. I remember like Parkinson's or MS.
And they were trying to keep it under wraps on set. But when I was watching the movie, I did think, I mean, she of course looks just absolutely stunning for any age, but particularly for her age.
Yeah.
She just looks. But at the same time, she also looks so fragile.
Yeah.
You know, like if you grabbed her arm too hard, you might yank the whole thing off, kind of thing. So when I read that about the MS, I was like, oh, well, no wonder. Like she was not well, but she did a whole thing. And then I have a little throwback to last week's episode. You would never guess. We do have a tie back.
Okay.
From Back to the Beach to our British comedies from last week.
Oh, can't wait. I can't wait for it. Go for it.
Lyndall Hobbs directed Back to the Beach.
Uh-huh.
And he also directed a short film called Dead on Time in 1983, which starred Rowan Atkinson.
Interesting.
Never would have put those together.
There's some 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon for you.
100%. That's all I got. You got anything else on Back to the Beach?
No, I think it's just another one of those that it was like, this is what, you know, kind of in the same vein as Mannequin, that it was like something I latched onto as like, you know, what the ideal of being a woman is, you know, and like heels and you're matching and you care how you look and skinny and, you know.
You'll be glad to know the family does reconcile. And even Bobby gets on board and becomes a mini kahuna. And it was really bad.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
I would say I think I enjoyed watching it more now than I did when it came out.
Yeah. When did it come out?
87.
87.
So we probably saw it in like 89
Yeah.
on cable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is interesting because so far it seems like, there are these movies where you really identified with that ideal woman type architect, right? Of what the 80s said an ideal woman was. And I just don't feel like there's going to be stuff coming up. Like I feel like I've always sort of identified with Alex from Flashdance. But I think that's because she kind of played against gender roles, right?
Yeah.
And she would dress like a guy and she was a welder by day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like even the playful clothes, like that tux that she wears when she goes out, like, oh my god, that to me like had a big imprint. But this kind of stuff and like Mannequin, I mean, I enjoyed Mannequin.
Well, but what's
it was never
interesting
a
is
part of
it's
me.
not like me identifying with it because I felt like a familiarity with it, but you know what I mean? Like it was so not what I was, but like what I
you wanted to be that. You aspired to it, right?
Yeah.
And like Alex would be like someone where I would be like, I want to be like that. That's cool,
Yeah.
Whereas like Annette Funicello, Mickey Mouse, and Minnie Mouse is a person. No, thank you. Never, never.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess if you had to identify with Kim Cattrall's character, the character would be all right, but the whole like objectification and having the perfect body and all of that crap, like, thanks.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's just interesting to see that these were, because even though we were watching the same media
at the same time,
what is the impact that these are having on it, and like they had a huge impact on me, whereas like that one didn't. Like it wasn't like, okay, but again, she was also thin, Alex from Flashdance, so there was still that.
No, she was.
Yeah, I had my one movie. I had Hairspray. It's what I had. The one
we'll definitely
fat girl and crybaby, like just
She was, Thank you. That's it for this special bonus spring break episode of I Love You But. We hope you enjoyed the special bonus episode, and we'd love to hear from you about what you'd like for future bonus episodes. We're open. We're experimenting. This is new for us. So let us know on our email, iloveyoubutpod@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at iloveyoupod or on Instagram at iloveyoubutpod. And, if you like the show, give us a review, rate, follow, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. I'm Heather.
I'm Rian, and we send you lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of conditional love.